Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Guilds of Ravnica Draft here on the channel. If you're watching these on YouTube, welcome. And before I begin, I do want to give a huge shout out to everyone who subscribes and likes my videos. It really does help me out, and it's great to have a growing and thriving community here on the channel, and I really do appreciate everyone that does those things. Also, if you do enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment if you have any questions about the draft or the gameplay. But this one's a little bit different. I messed up the audio the first time I did this draft, so I'm going to be going through it again. I'm going to talk through every pick still. It's going to be a very similar experience. And I'm just going to say this is, I think, how ideally you would watch a draft video is. I think the best way is for you to look at the pack, think about what you would have taken, and then maybe listen to what I have to say about it, because that's the best way to train yourself. But we're going to go through the packs. It's going to be very similar to a normal draft video, but yeah, it's just I did mess it up a little bit with the audio. That's something I've done before, but I think this is going to work out really nicely. Basically, in this pack, the rare is Vraska Golgari Queen. Basically, Planeswalkers are always exceptional in Limited, and the reason for this is because they're just a whole different axis of play than you normally have in Limited. A Planeswalker basically says, if you don't kill this, I will win the game. And so the great thing about Vraska is that she's essentially a removal spell the turn she comes into play, because she can kill something with converted mana cost 3 or less, and then after that, she's just a potent threat on the battlefield, forces your opponent to deal with it or lose, and sacrificing lands in the late game is not a high cost, especially because you're getting a new card as well. Other cards in this pack, I think Chemister's Insight is a pretty good card. I definitely would take it over Direct Current, because it's one of the cards that can give you a legitimate control game plan in this format, because it does net you 3 cards, which is a huge amount, especially if you're building a control deck that can go into the late game. After that, I think Direct Current is the pick, and then I think I would actually take Darkblade Agent. It is a gold card, but it is very strong and a scary card if they are playing Dimir. But as it was, I started off my draft with a Vraska. Now here, the rare is missing, so we can't really get a huge signal as to what is going to be taken out of this pack, because they could have taken a great Selesnya Mythic or rare. That being said, Conclave Cavalier is better than a lot of rares, so I think Conclave Cavalier is definitely a little bit of a signal that Selesnya might be open. The person might have taken a Dimir card and might not care as much about Selesnya. Conclave Cavalier is one of the best like double-colored cards, the unsplashables, as they are affectionately called. It's just the clear pick out of this pack. Nothing else even comes close in power level. After it is Sky Knight Legionnaire, and Conclave Cavalier basically just takes over the game. When you play it, if they don't like Luminous Bonds it, then you can just go to town. And also the cool thing is that you can just splash the Vraska and play Selesnya. Selesnya has a lot of tools to splash, so I'm not even that worried about playing the Conclave Cavalier with the Vraska out. And if they did Luminous Bonds it or something, I could play my Vraska later, sacrifice it, get the 2/2s anyway. So Conclave Cavalier is the clear pick out of this pack. I do think that in certain decks, Gird for Battle is quite good, but I don't think you want it in every deck. I think you only want it in the hyper-aggressive decks. And I think after Conclave Cavalier in this pack, I think I would actually take the Sky Knight Legionnaire, because maybe I just can't play my Vraska. Here is a very interesting pack, because there's a ton of very strong cards. Vivid Revival is excellent as a late game, like if you're playing a controlling deck with strong gold cards, which a lot of the gold cards are better in the late game. I think Vivid Revival is a really nice card to have, because drawing 3 spells in the late game is really nice. It also works really well in Selesnya, because Flower Flourish is a card that you can get, and Flower Flourish cycles in the early game, gets you a land, but it also puts a gold card in the graveyard, so it becomes so much better, because then you have just that free card that you can get back if you draw your Vivid Revival later, and that's when the Flourish part of the card comes online, which I think is really potent. True Fire Captain, if on a little bit differently, maybe if I hadn't seen the Conclave Cavalier, I could have taken Sky Knight Legionnaire into True Fire Captain, which is pretty good. But here, I am going to take the Vivid Revival. It's just so much stronger. Artful Takedown, I already have a strong Selesnya card. Vivid Revival is also very strong, comparable with Artful Takedown, just because if you can net 3 cards off of Vivid Revival, it's a huge, huge value swing and can just win you the late game. So I think my pick order for this pack is Vivid Revival, Artful Takedown, because Artful Takedown is a little bit more splashable, especially if I went for a Dimir route, splashing the Vraska, and then after that the True Fire Captain, just because you never know how the draft is going to end up. Here, this pack is pretty weak for what I am looking to do. Circuitous Route, I think, is a little bit of a trap for the slower decks that play a lot of colors, because a lot of the time, if you spend your early turns playing Guild Gates and then you are playing your Circuitous Route, you're just doing another slow card. So you can play it sometimes, and depending on the deck, it can be actually pretty good. But it's a card that you don't necessarily want to take too early. Here, I'm looking really towards the Healer's Hawk, because Healer's Hawk is the type of card that can get you a little bit of a life total buffer in the early game. If I play this on turn 1, it's going to buy me maybe like an extra turn against aggro, just because it'll gain me like maybe 4 life over the course of the game. It also pings in for a little bit of damage. And it can also, if I am playing Selesnya, contribute to convoking out some cards. So I really do like Healer's Hawk in this scenario. I think it's just nothing else in the pack is even that close. After the Healer's Hawk, I think the next best card for my deck would probably just be the Skyline Scout as a 2-drop. I honestly think that would probably be better than the Circuitous Route. This pack is interesting because Sworn Companions can be good in Selesnya if you get the Convoke cards and you have like good Convoke payoffs. But I don't always prioritize it super highly. Selesnya Guildgate is actually a card I really do want because I want to be able to play my Vraska, and it's really helpful to have the tools to splash. Guildgates are like the main tool for splashing, and also like it helps cast my Conclave Cavalier on turn 4 in a lot of scenarios. So I really do like the Selesnya Guildgate here. I think it's close, a little bit close with Sworn Companions, because Sworn Companions is much better in this type of deck. This is looking like a pretty good controlling version of a deck. So I do like this Selesnya Guildgate here over the Sworn. The Sworn Companions has merit here over Selesnya Guildgate potentially, just because the 2 blockers, they gain you 2 life. They can trade with the 2 toughness thing, which is pretty relevant. Here I just did a little bit of a discussion of Hasda Marshal. I think you only want it if you're playing like a deck that's curve tops out at 3. You go like 1/2. 2-drop plus combat trick, and then your Hasda Marshal's actually like getting in and making tokens, but otherwise it's just a one mana 1/1, which isn't that good. This pack was pretty medium for me. Golgari Guildgate is definitely a nice one to pick up though, helps me splash my Vraska. I only have 4 actual spells, but I really like the direction of Selesnya splash Vraska, and it's looking like that's relatively open. Looking back at it now, like seeing more things, if I had gone the Dimir splash Vraska plan, I would have maybe had a Dimir Guildgate into Sinister Sabotage at some point, but I'm pretty happy with where the draft is. At this point, Golgari Guildgate is another just helpful card for splashing. The next best card is like Wild Ceratok, so I'm pretty happy with it, where this is going. Here, the pick is mainly between Blade Instructor and Dev. You don't really want the Take Heart in a deck that isn't looking to attack as much, and this is definitely a grindier deck. Devcur and Dissident is really nice as a 2-drop, just because it's a 2-drop that's pretty good in the middle of the stages of the game, because the threat of activation means that it can oftentimes attack into them in the middle portions of the game, because you could just threaten the pump. And also on defense, it's pretty decent if you have a couple excess lands. So I ended up taking the Devcur Dissident here. I was talking a little bit about why I don't think Hunted Witness is the greatest card. I think you only want it, again, if you're those hyper-aggressive decks. The same type of deck that wants Hasda Marshal is more fine playing Hunted Witness, though Hunted Witness is less good than Hasda Marshal in the perfect deck. Though in decks that don't go completely, get there completely, Hunted Witness is a little bit better, but the decks that do get there, Hasda Marshal is better. Here, the pick is between 10th District Guard and Hitchclaw Recluse for my deck. Hitchclaw Recluse is just much better than 10th District Guard. It blocks a lot of the stuff pretty decently, and it shores up a little bit of a weakness to flyers. 10th District Guard is really only good in those decks that are looking to curve out aggressively and just really need any 2-drop, any warm body on turn 2 to play. I'm not a huge fan of Loxodon Restorer, because a lot of the time the 4 life you gain from a Loxodon Restorer is offset by the fact that if they kill it, the turn you put it into play, they get to swing in for a huge chunk of damage. Now, here was a very interesting pick. I remember this pick, and I think it was a very, very important pick in the draft. There's a Selesnya Guildgate, which can help me with my splash, which can help me with my mana, but there's also a Vernati Shieldmate, and I do have this Vivid Revival, and because I only have 2 gold cards so far, getting another card, even if it's just a Vernati Shieldmate, getting back a card with Vivid Revival is really, really good. So I think that Vernati Shieldmate is a little bit better than Selesnya Guildgate here, because Vernati Shieldmate works with my Vivid Revival, and as of right now, I only have 2 gold cards, and you really want to have like 6 or 7 with Vivid Revival, because Vivid Revival ideally is getting back like 1 good spell, 1 medium spell, and like then just any spell is just really pure value. So pretty happy with the Vernati Shieldmate pick here. This pick is pretty clear Collar the Culprit. It's the only card that's like remotely like playable. So it's a nice sideboard card. It's good against the Dimir decks because it kills Watcher in the Mist. And here it's just garbage picks. 10th District Guard for the sideboard. Maybe I boarded in against Boros. Circuitous Route. I'm not playing any of the other cards. Circuitous Route could maybe make the cut if I need the fixing. And then I just take the Erstwhile Trooper. I'm not looking to splash red in this deck. I already have a pretty strong black splash, so no need to go overboard. And then I got the Hunted Witness back anyway. Nobody really wants the Hunted Witness. So after pack 1, my deck is looking pretty solid. I have a decent curve. I'm sorting by converted mana cost now. I have a 1-drop, a couple 2-drops, a 3-drop. And this pick was mainly between Healer's Hawk and Midnight Reaper. Midnight Reaper is just another value, grindy card, and I think that's just what this deck wants. I'm already splashing black for the Vraska, so I think Midnight Reaper is the correct pick here, though it's a little bit close with the Healer's Hawk, because as I said, the buffer of life that you can gain from a Healer's Hawk is quite nice. However, this deck doesn't need to prioritize Healer's Hawk as highly, because the decks that really need to prioritize Healer's Hawk, like the Boros decks and the blue-white aggressive decks that you can play in this format, they prioritize Healer's Hawk because Healer's Hawk is just a 1-drop with evasion that can get in for a bunch of damage. In Selesnya, you're more using the Healer's Hawk to give you a life buffer. You care more about the lifelink aspect and the fact that it can convoke your creatures out. Because my strategy this game is not to go 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, aggressive, kill my opponent super quickly, because I do have the tools to win a grindy game. This pack was pretty bad for me. Risk Factor is not a rare that I'm going to play. I'm not really looking to play like Splash Hired Poisoner or Splash Whisper Agent, because I'm like, splashing a Whisper Agent is just horrible. I think the main pick here is between the Guild Gate and the Prey Upon. The Prey Upon is nice because a lot of the time I'll have a decent-sized creature out, like a Conclave Cavalier, maybe a creature that I convoke out, and then I can use the Prey Upon efficiently to kill my opponent's creatures. Selesnya does tend to have big creatures like that, which is pretty nice for Selesnya. However, I do end up going with the Golgari Guildgate, especially because the Midnight Reaper. Now I do want to be able to splash my cards efficiently. And it really lowering the number of non-plains, non-forest cards, like non-white or green producing lands in your deck is really key when you have cards like Conclave Cavalier that you would ideally cast on turn 4. One of my favorite things to do is to splash cards solely off of Guild Gates, because then you can still cast your Cavaliers on turn 4 and things like that ensure. Here, very easy Luminous Bonds. Nothing else in this pack is even close in terms of the power level for my deck, my colors. There have been a lot of blue cards this pack, but I've still been getting good cards for my deck, so I'm not like in panic mode or anything like that. This pack, however, was pretty bad. I think it was another close pick. I had to choose between not Molder Hulk. Molder Hulk, I was talking about how bad it is. It's a 9-drop, so you're never really going to get to cast it. Here, I think the pick is between Devkarin Dissident and Golgari Guildgate. Devkarin Dissident, just because it's another 2-drop and you don't want to get overwhelmed in the early game. It's also like a 2-drop that's fine in the middle portions of the game, as I said before, so I do like Devkarin Dissident in this type of deck. The Golgari Guildgate is fine, but I already have 3 Guildgates. You don't necessarily need to go overboard on Guildgates, so I think it's definitely a pretty clear Devkarin Dissident here. I do want to make sure that I can have a decent curve, not get run over by the aggressive decks of the format. So I'm pretty happy to take the Dissident here. And then here it's between Hitchclaw Recluse and Crushing Canopy. I do like getting a Crushing Canopy for the sideboard. I'm not even really considering the Lidev Guardian that much. I think it's a card that's fine in Selesnya, but I think Crushing Canopy is a really important sideboard card because you can often struggle with flyers. I do have the Hitchclaw Recluse, but it's a little bit trickier. Here, the pick is between Temple Guard and Sprouting Renewal. I didn't even really consider Blade Instructor because Blade Instructor is good in decks that want to attack. A 3/1's not really a good blocker. But I think the Temple Garden's really nice because it's a land that helps my mana, and my mana is like the big constraint in this deck. I already have a ton of powerful stuff to do, and the Sprouting Renewal is not as necessary given that I already have a Crushing Canopy in the sideboard, and a lot of the time it's just a 3-mana 2/2. And this doesn't work with Midnight Reaper, which is not like super important, but it's something to factor in. So I think Temple Garden is the correct pick here. Something you might notice is that I do have a lot of lands and not like an insane number of actual spells. But the thing is in my sideboard, I do have like cards that I could play if I needed to. I could main deck a Crushing Canopy. It is still only pack 2. I could like main deck a Wario copy, things of that nature. This was another close pick. I do spend a little moment. I think Swathcutter Giant is a really good card with Vivid Revival. A lot of the times, I think Vivid Revival works really well in Naya as a color combination. I actually drafted a Naya Vivid Revival deck before, and I think the reason for that is because Garrison Sergeant, which is the 5-mana 3/3 first double striker, if you have a gate in play, works nice with Vivid Revival and Swathcutter Giant. And those are cards that normal Boros decks don't want, so you can usually get them. Here the pick is between Selesnya Guildgate and Sworn Companions, and I think Sworn Companions is the correct pick here. I haven't seen any big Convoke cards yet that I've taken, but I still think that Sworn Companions is going to be a nice defensive option for this deck, and I do already have 4 lands. Here, if you look at my deck, I only have 7 creatures right now. Like, Sworn Companions, I count that as a creature, but I think this is a pretty clear Selesnya Guildgate. I do now have 4 gates, but I think having a lot of gates is really good when you're going to be playing a mana, like, color-hungry deck. Here I take the Generous Stray, not really that much to say, and Vigorous Sporeworm, just clear picks, the only cards in my colors. Generous Stray is, like, hopefully not going to make the cut, because it's really more of a Golgari card, a creature that replaces itself that you can sometimes sacrifice to Severed Strand, sometimes just trade off, get it in the graveyard, for things like that. Molder Hulk, I mean, it's the only card I could potentially play, but I'm not looking to play it. Same with Loxodon Restorer, not really a big fan, as I said before. Lidev Guardian's not horrible, though. I think Lidev Guardian's definitely as you can see, I almost brought it into the deck, but then I was like, I hope I don't have to play it. Though I do only have 13 spells at this point, so the odds of me playing a Lidev Guardian are decent at this point. Especially because I just cut the Generous Stray. So it might not look like I have a ton of spells going on, but if you look at my sideboard, I do have quite a few cards that could be that are decent spells. And I am looking to pick up more gold cards. I didn't see a single like good gold card that pack, but then I opened this pack. This pack was unbelievable. I opened March of the Multitudes and Conclave Cavalier. Those are like two of the best possible cards I could have opened. It's actually really, it's kind of crazy because they're both really good. However, I do think March of the Multitudes is a little bit better. It can just kind of, the fact that it's an instant means it can take your opponent by surprise. And because I have like the Sworn Companions, I could potentially get a really big March of the Multitudes. A lot of my creatures are just going to sit and play. I have Hitchclaw Recluse. A lot of creatures that aren't going to like mess with the opponent. I was actually really struggling with this pick though, because Conclave Cavalier on turn 4 is just really good. And March of the Multitudes doesn't turn on until the late game. But March of the Multitudes is also really good with Vivid Revival, because it's just like you cast it and then you Vivid Revival and then you cast it again. And it's even bigger the second time you cast it. So that's another really nice thing. I don't like plan on them. It's also, I think March of the Multitudes is just really, really good. And it can just take over the game by itself. That being said, I don't think taking Conclave Cavalier would definitely be a mistake, necessarily be a mistake. Here it was another really close pick, because Flower Flourish is like the perfect card with my Vivid Revival, and it's just a card that's also really good with March of the Multitudes, because the Flourish part gives me another like pretty good engine there. But Venerated Loxodon, if you ever cast this like on turn 3 or something, it's just so good. So Venerated Loxodon, I think, is the pick here. Like, or turn 4 even. Like you cast this on turn 4, you've tapped like all your creatures, your entire board gets huge. And it's just really nice. It's also really nice with March of the Multitudes. It can buff up some of those tokens. And here you really see one of the benefits of playing Selesnya, because nobody else is in this archetype, really. I've just gotten 3... I opened the March of the Multitudes, but someone passed me a pack with Venerated Loxodon and Flower Flourish, which means the guy next to me is clearly not in Selesnya, or he would have taken one of those cards. Amara is another excellent card. Makes me... Like, the Venerated Loxodon gets just that much better. My deck is just really humming on all cylinders right here. The Amara is a really nice pickup as well. It also makes the... Ledev Guardian much better, having the Amara, just because getting that extra 1/1 is actually quite nice. But yeah, I just picked up 3 premium spells for my deck, and also 2 of them were gold cards that I can get back with Vivid Revival. So my deck just went from like a medium power level deck to just like through the roof in terms of power level. Here it cools down a little bit, but I do manage to pick up. I was considering Pax Favor, because I do think that card might be a little bit underrated. It's also like the type of works really nicely when you have a bunch of tokens, but I did end up going with the Sworn Companions. It works nicely with Venerated Loxodon. It works nicely with March of the Multitudes. It's just a really good card in this deck, and I think that if I can swarm the board with tokens, my Vraska can also just take over the game. Here was actually interesting pick. I was choosing mainly between Sumala Woodshaper and Gateway Plaza, but at this point in the draft, the Urban Utopia was also one that I kind of considered. But I think at this point in the draft, the Sumala Woodshaper is not actually as good, because a lot of my most powerful cards aren't creatures. So the March of the Multitudes, the Vivid Revival, and the Vraska are cards that I can't get off of the Woodshaper. I actually only have 10 hits off of the Woodshaper, which means it's a lot less consistent here than it would normally be, which is actually kind of weird. But at the same time, I think in this deck, I actually wanted kind of to have Gateway Plaza. It's just another good mana fixer. I think with all the lifelink tokens I have, I'm not going to be able to get run over that effectively in the early game, but being able to cast my spells is really important. I was actually choosing between Urban Utopia and Gateway Plaza, and I eventually decided on the Gateway Plaza. Urban Utopia is just a little bit does the same thing, but Urban Utopia takes up a spell slot a lot of the time, and Gateway Plaza is a land. Here, Portcullis Vine was pretty clear. I'm not going to sideboard in Crush Contraband really ever, and Portcullis Vine can be a good sideboard card against aggro. I managed to pick up another Golgari Guildgate, so my mana is just really good at this point. I have 7 lands. 6 of them are tap lands, so that is a little bit of a downside. But I do have the Temple Garden, which comes in untapped. So my mana is going to be really good this game. I also think that because of the lifelink tokens, I'm going to be able to be relatively stable. But at this point, if you're looking at my deck, I only have 15 cards in the deck, and then some of the medium cards from the sideboard are going to come in. Like Ledev Guardians, probably going to end up coming in at this point, I'm just looking at my deck. Here, it's just a pretty easy Hitchclaw Recluse. Hitchclaw Recluse is just a nice effect to have. It helps you from getting run over by Watcher in the Mist. It's just a big blocker. It helps stall the game, and stalling the game is really good when you have cards like March of the Multitudes. Here, now that I've picked up a couple more creatures, I do take the Sumala Woodshaper. It is pretty decent value with the Vivid Revival. Buying that back, it gets you another card, digs you deeper. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gold cards, which is really a nice place to be for Vivid Revival. And at this point, I was talking about, because I might be one of the only Selesnya drafters, I think there's probably me or one other. This is the part where I just wheeled the Sumala Woodshaper, so someone did take the Conclave Cavalier that was in that pack, But this was the pack. This next one was the one with Flower Flourish, and the Flower Flourish came back. Pretty much every card I would have wanted to wheel from this pack came back. The Flower Flourish, the Healer's Hawk, and the Vernati Shieldmate. But Flower Flourish is so perfect in this deck. If I can ever, it works. First of all, works really well with, works really nicely with March of the Multitudes, because like flourishing those is just game over. And it works nicely with Sworn Companion. So Flower was really nice one to come back. I'm also a pretty mana hungry deck, so a lot of the time, even though I have a lot of Convoke cards and not a ton of expensive top end, I think that I would consider running like 18 lands in this type of deck sometimes. But because I have Flower Flourish, now I can run 17 lands and Flower and have like another more like spells. There I took the Iron Shell Beetle over the Lidev Guardian. I just like having another 2-drop so I don't get run over early, especially because I have all of those tap lands. And Urban Utopia came back, which just helps my mana even more. I think the games that I lose with this deck are oftentimes going to be from mana problems and not from like card problems, if that makes sense. So that's like one of the, and also the Iron Shell Beetle over Lidev Guardian pick was also Lidev Guardian. I already have one in my sideboard that I wasn't like planning on playing, like hopefully. So I just like picking up a card that's a little bit different to have variety, because variety is pretty nice. And yeah, so this was the building portion. The building part of this deck was a little bit tricky, actually. Definitely a little bit interesting for sure, because I did have like, I needed to fill out like 3 more slots in the deck. I had to choose how many lands I wanted. My top end, if you look at it, is not actually super expensive, which is interesting. So I kind of have to like choose which card. At this point, I think I'm just talking about like the best cards in my deck. Vraska, Vivid Revival. I have a really nice controlling game plan. I use my lands in the late game pretty decently because I have some card draw built in. Also, the lands can be sacrificed to Vraska. Here, I think Vigor Spore Worm is actually kind of nice in this deck. It's another expensive card, and I do not have a ton of expensive cards, and I did end up with like more creatures than you'd think. It also is really nice with a lifelink token because you can just gain a bit of life. But overall, the building is really tricky here, because you want to make sure that you have enough creatures and stuff going on, but you also want to make sure your mana is good enough. And I end up deciding not to run any swamps, which is a bit greedy, but I do have 5 black sources in this deck if I include the Urban Utopia, the Gateway Plaza, and the 3 Guild Gates. So I have a ton of colored sources in this deck, and I'm just choosing between which like last second spots I want to get into the deck. Wario Copy I think definitely gets in. It's just a solid card. Not insane, but not like horrible either. Vigilance is also kind of decent in this deck because you can like attack and then use the Convoke still. So I do think Wario Copy gets in. I think Lidev Guardian gets in. I think that it's close between, I think Vigor Spore Worm gets in. I think those are the 3 cards that I end up adding here. Another thing to note, if you're watching this from home, I mean, obviously you're watching this from home or whatever you're watching this, when I'm in the deck building portion, a lot of the thing you want to be thinking about is which cards you would put in the deck. And then if I put in a different card and you disagree or you want to know why I put that card in and didn't put another one in, that's the perfect spot to leave a comment, because those are some of the most interesting decisions. And I think that might be one of the spots where I sometimes, it's very tricky for me sometimes to choose which cards I want to put in the main deck and which cards I want to have in the sideboard, because I obviously have powerful cards going on, but I can't play them all, so it's a little bit trickier. I was also deciding whether or not I wanted to play 17 lands or 16 lands plus a Flower Flourish, but in this deck, I think because I have a decent number of mana sinks, I think that 17 lands is going to be nice, especially when you have a lot of tap lands. Playing a lot of basics to complement those is nice, because then you can have a higher chance of having an untapped land on the turn where it matters the most. So if I really need to cast a 3-drop, I can go tap land, 3-drop, whereas if I have 16 lands, the odds of me having less untapped lands is a little bit bigger. Flower Flourish also is kind of like a tap land in that regard. I considered Portcullis Vine for a second, but I think it's a mistake in this deck. And the reason I think it's a mistake is because Portcullis Vine is kind of a spin your wheels card, and I already have several of those. I already have Urban Utopia and Flower Flourish, which can help, which can contribute to you flooding out a little bit more than you'd like. So I think that's one of the other reasons that I want the Vigor Spore Worm here, is because I'm going to have a couple of cards that just don't really do anything on their own. Lockstorm Restorer is a consideration, but I still think the Vigor Spore Worm is where the spot. I definitely come around to that conclusion because I remember my thought processes. These are the cards that I like to pull over the cards that I'm considering. Collar the Culprit, I think, is definitely more of a sideboard card. I do only have 2 removal spells in this deck, but I do have a very proactive game plan of my own, and I can stall the board and use my creatures as virtual removal to stall the game out. So I think I'm in pretty good shape here. I can also race pretty effectively. And my sideboard is great. I was definitely considering main decking a Crushing Canopy because I do have a little bit of problem flyers in this deck. But because I have 2 Hitchclaw Recluses and I have the life-linking ground creatures, I think I can be fine against flyers. Oh, sorry, might be. But yeah, it's definitely a tricky build, for sure. And I'm just going through the cards. I do come to the conclusion that Portcullis Vine is not great, and I bring in the Vigor Spore Worm because I'm just looking at my curve. Venerated Loxodon can be cast for pretty cheap. Smaller Wood Shaper like is a 4-drop, but like it's going to be finding like 3-drops and stuff. So I do want to make sure that I have stuff to be casting. Circuitous Route, not really a card that I want. I think Loxodon Restorer actually might be fine in this deck, just because the Convoke cards are pretty decent with the Amara. I have a lot of smaller, dirtly creatures. The mana, having Devkarin Dissident as a 2-drop is also really nice in this deck, because Devkarin Dissident, if I do get to those later stages of the game, it's a 2-drop that can help me use my mana on my turn, get in for those 4 points of damage, which can be really nice. Also, the Vigor Spore Worm got much better after I started adding cards, because I started off the building portion with only like 12 creatures in my deck, and having like 15 creatures is much better. And my deck does actually have more than 15 like creatures, because I consider Swarm Companions to be like creatures. That's why I move them into the creature section here. But I think this deck is great. It stalls the board really well thanks to Sworn Companions and Hitchclaw Recluses and like the 5 2-drops. And then it wins the game with like really powerful things like Venerated Loxodons, Cavaliers, Vivid Revival, and Vraska. So I think this deck is really good. And yeah, I think this is my final build. I think the closest card to making the cut is Crushing Canopy, but against some decks it doesn't do a ton. I think it does. I guess it doesn't do a ton against the green decks. So any deck that's running green, Crushing Canopy doesn't do a ton because they don't really run enchantments. I guess they sometimes run Luminous Bonds, but I'd much rather side it in. And here, the Magic the Gathering online like land thing doesn't count like what colors your guild gates make. So like all of my guild gates make green. So ended up going with a. I think I do end up going with like a 6-3 or 6-4 split. I think I go with a 6-4 split. That gives me access to 10 white sources. Yeah, I do go with a 6-4 split. For some reason, it recommends it does count the Flower Flourish as a land, so it only gives me like 16 lands. But I do end up adding that extra plains. I start off by messing up and adding a forest, but I end up going with that extra plains because I do have a lot of cards that are gold cards that will care about me having both colors, and I do want to be able to cast all of my stuff in the early game. Like Amara on turn 2 is much better than Amara on turn 3 because you missed your plains. But yeah, I definitely think that this deck is pretty solid. One of the things that I like the most about this deck is that it kind of has a plan for all stages of the game. Oh, and also make sure you double check your mana sources. Make sure you're like counting. Like here, I was counting. I was like, oh, I have 12 green sources. I need to have an extra plains here, not that extra forest. So just double check your stuff because you don't want to mana screw yourself just by miscounting. But yeah, I like this deck because it kind of has a decent like plan each stage of the game. Early stages of the game, I can deploy my 2-drops, get my mana set up, and then in the middle stages of the game, I start deploying like value creatures, and then in the late stage, I just take over with March, Vivid Revival, and Loxodon and Vraska. So I think this is a great deck. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry that I messed up the recording style, but it happens sometimes. From time to time, I mess up. And I hope that this was pretty helpful. I think I did do more commentary than I normally do, just because of the nature of it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for the matches. Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 1 with my Abzan, like mid-range, kind of controlling deck. This is a fine hand. We'll keep it. We are on the play. The Flower Flourish coming in clutch. We're going to get our Amara into play on turn 2. Amara plus Iron Shell Beetle is actually a pretty nice combo because it makes the Amara much easier to attack with. So, pretty happy to have that. That could maybe snowball out of control. I do have the Lidev Guardian to use with Convoke, so I'm going to be getting some 1/1s this game, and it's going to be really helpful, especially if I get a little bit stalled on mana. Okay, opponent on the Hasda Martial Plan. This Amara should be pretty good against that. Hitting a land is really nice too. And when this attacks, it creates a 1/1 soldier too, which is really cool. Really cool indeed. Okay, cool, my audio is on. So I'm playing against Boros. Boros Challenger. A little bit scary, but I'm going to probably just Luminous Bonds it. Use my removal early so he can't get those mentor triggers rolling. And this also opens up an attack with the Amara. Gets those life linkers out. I can then deploy my Hitchclaw Recluse to stop any like Sky Knight Legionnaires. But yeah, I could also just Lidev Guardian, get another token. It's overall going really well for me right now. We'll see what he plays. Wojak Bodyguard is definitely the card I was most afraid of. However, we can still Ladev Guardian with our Amara to get a token. We could also Iron Shell Beetle up our Amara to kill the Wojak Bodyguard. I think that would be like the best play. Though he could then attack us back, but we could double block the Hazda Marshal. It's close. We have a lot of different lines available. I don't think Hitchclaw Recluse is good this turn, just because it doesn't block Wojak particularly well, because the Wojak can still get in. Ladev Guardian is definitely a better play if I was going to do that. I could go Ladev Guardian plus Golgari Guildgate. I kind of like that, actually. And then I can go for the Amara thing next turn. Yeah, this looks nice, because now I can double block a Wojak Bodyguard, trade a 1/1 for it, essentially. Or I could, yeah. Or even if he kills my Ladev Guardian, I can still double block Hazda Marshal. And if he attacks me, I can attack him back with my Amara. Amara is just doing a lot of work this game. And then next turn I can double spell. I can put a counter onto my Amara or my Ladev Guardian, depending on what my opponent does. Amara is definitely a beating here. Early on in the game, it just does so much. Opponent does hit their 4th land. Let's see what they do with it. This is why I'm not the biggest fan of Hazda Marshal, because it's just like a 1/1 in a lot of scenarios like this. Okay. That doesn't match up particularly well. I can just play my Iron Shell Beetle, attack with Amara, get another 1/1. Though he could trade with it with Blade Instructor then, which isn't the greatest. I could attack with Amara. He double blocks. That's not the greatest. I'm just going to Iron Shell Beetle up my Ladev Guardian, I think. It's a 3/5 now, so it can block the Wojak by itself. I could have like Hitchclaw Recluse and made that into a 2/5. That's another consideration. I could have attacked with a soldier there, too, which would have probably been good. Gain that life, get in for damage. I should have thought about that more. The soldier damage could definitely add up, so I think that was a mistake. I should have attacked with both soldiers, I think. Now that I have like the Iron Shell Beetle. Okay. Swift Vindicator is definitely terrifying. Especially if he double mentors onto it. But then again, my Ladev Guardian can single-handedly take care of it, which is nice. Okie doke. So he is definitely doing some stuff. But actually doing the mentor onto the Iron Shell Beetle onto the Ladev Guardian was pretty clutch. If he does have like a Gather the Storm, I am in bad shape, but I can't really control this. I've drawn like relatively medium. I do have a lot of blockers, so I think it's going to be hard for my opponent to punch through. But he has 3 mentor creatures, so he could like make the Swiftblade Vindicator into a 3/3. But that doesn't even get through my Ladev Guardian. Obviously, if I draw like a Vraska, this game's over. If I draw Vivid Revival, the game is not over, for sure. Not over at all. What are my best draws? March of the Multitudes would be great here. If the opponent has a combat trick, I'm in a little bit of medium, like not great shape, but I have good blocks all over the board here. I think he probably has a combat trick here, but I can just spread his resources thin. And so how do I want to block? Let's just line up some, these are the obvious blocks that I'll line up, and then I'll do some extra level thinking here. These feel like pretty obvious blocks. Maybe I could let the Hasna Marshal hit me and block the Wojek. But these feel like pretty like base level blocks. Because I kill Hasna Marshal for a 1/1. I kill his 3/1 for a 1/1. And I take 3. I kill his Swiftblade Vindicator. What could he have here? He could have +2/+2, or he could have Sure Strike. I can't play around Sure Strike or any combat trick on the Swiftblade Vindicator. I'm just going to just hope my 3/5 can stop him. And that he's making a Desperation attack. I don't think I can beat a take card on the Vindicator. Vindicator's a huge threat here. I could also like double block Wojek Bodyguard and let him keep this guy. If I block like this, I do give up my Amara. But he can only have like one combat trick, I think. So then I trade my Amara for a Wojek, which isn't great, but I think trading a 2/2 for 3/3, it plays around the worst case scenario of my opponent Swiftblade killing my guy, I think. So I think this is the line here. This block seems good. Actually, I'd rather keep my lifelink token around in case I draw like a worm. I think this is the best block. I hope that he doesn't have a combat trick to kill my Ladev Guardian. But if he does, I think these blocks prepare me the best for the following turns. Okay. Integrity. Okay, yeah. So he did have a combat trick, but he was going to have that regardless, and now I kill a lot of his creatures. Does it have trample? It does, so I'm going to take 5. And the Hitchclaw Recluse, I can't really deal with this guy. I used my Luminous Bonds on his Challenger to slow him down. Now I need to draw something else here. Hitchclaw Recluse number 2. Not the greatest. Yeah. Yep, Swiftblade Vindicator as a 3/3 is really hard to deal with for my deck. I'm not dead. I'm fine, but I was definitely hoping he didn't have a combat trick. I can't really do anything about a combat trick there, but March of the Multitudes would be a fine draw. Not even really that great draw here. Another big creature would be a nice draw. Another Wojek. Okay. Dang, we're going to lose to Swiftblade Vindicator. It's a little bit unfortunate. I think this game was fine for us, but we do have a lot of mana sources in our deck. We kept a 1-lander, ironically. It's all good, though. We just didn't draw our best spells. Opponent can just attack all out here. Yep. If we block like this, can we like triple block this guy and not die? No, we can't, because this is going to put us at 2. Nope, not good enough. Unfortunate. But game 2, we have hope. We have hope for sure. He has a ton of mentor guys, but okay. What do we want to bring in? What do we want to bring in? Hitchclaw Recluse seems fine against the Blade Instructors. I think I want Lockstone Restore, just another big body, and I will cut. What will I cut for it? Smaller Wood Shaper might not be the best in this matchup, just a little bit slow. So I'm going to cut that. Much better in the grindy matchups. Would like to play first. This is a good hand. We can get our Vrask out relatively protected and just kill the opponent with that. Opponent is on a mulligan. Start with the Selesnya Guildgate in case we draw Imara. We're going to actually go with the Guildgate here because we do want to cast our Vraska on turn 4. And Wario Copy is going to be a fine 3-drop. We could also go Midnight Reaper, though that's a little bit worse. Opponent doesn't have a good start, and we have a great start, so. Get our Wario Copy out. Who knew Wario Copy could be part of such a great start? So we're going to go Vraska. We're going to Vraska plus and not sacrifice anything. Actually, yeah, we're going to plus and not sacrifice anything. Next turn we can sacrifice something after we play a land, but maybe I should have attacked first if he had Righteous Blow, but he's mana screwed. He's not going to be able to beat Vraska, I don't think. Yep. We're just going to kill everything he plays, I think, because he's mana screwed. Okay. Not going to let him leverage a combat trick or something of that nature. Midnight Reaper. Iron Shell Beetle on our Wario Copy. Just a bigger attacker. Gets in immediately. A little bit scarier. We can sacrifice Iron Shell if we want to, though I think we're going to start sacrificing lands. Blade Instructor, sure. Four, 7, 8. Okay. Okay. Opponent concedes. He's not going to beat the worm. Okay, I like the sideboard plan. Maybe we want Hunted Witness as just another cheap guy. And we will cut... Vivid Revival could just be too slow in this matchup. I like that change a little bit. Especially because we're cutting the Somala Woodshaper, we have less gold cards. Okay, this is a fine hand. Not the greatest hand, but... we have 2-drop into 3-drop, and then we can hope for good stuff. This is the downside of Flower Flourish, though. I think I'd rather thin my deck than play the Temple Garden. But I don't think thinning is worth the 2 life that I'm going to save, because I don't want to have to play it untapped. That'd be pretty bad. If he goes the Boros Mentor guy, then I'm in real trouble here. If he doesn't have a 2-drop, I'm in great shape, though. Oh my gosh, what a phenomenal draw. Definitely going to play the Imara as soon as I can. I can ramp out this Ladev Guardian. Not ramp out, but I can convoke out it. Get a token regardless of what he does. Definitely not blocking. But this means that he doesn't have +2/+2, which is good to know about. I like convoking here for 2 reasons. First, and I'm not going to cast this flower. I'm just going to save it for the flourish part at this point. I like just making it so that he looked like he held up his 3 mana. Like he didn't want to attack. Okay, so now if he has a combat trick, he has the intervention one. So I'm just going to attack here and then get my extra token. Like he can block if he wants. So he's not blocking. I'm just going to play Dissident. Does he have Deafening Clarion? doesn't kill this guy, but it would 2-for-1 me right now. But it would 2-for-2 him because he played that as the Marshal. Interesting. I don't know what he has in his hand. Parhelion Patrol. That's like fine, but not even that good. Okay, going to attack with my Devkarin Dissident. Then I'll play my Hitchclaw Recluse. Do I just pump? Next turn, he's going to have presumably another blocker. Let's just say he has one more blocker. So he'll have 3 blockers, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures. He's going to be at 11 if I pump. I have 5 creatures. He has 3 blockers. That means that 2 of them are going to get through, which is at least 6 damage. I think getting the extra guy on the board is better. Flourish is going to be great here. It also gets me another token with the Yamara. If he has the 6-mana 5/5 Vigilance that deals 1 to all my stuff, that would be really good. But it feels like you don't play that and has the Marshal in the same deck. Maybe my opponent out-levels me and does, but it feels like if he has those both in the same deck, that's very unlikely. Citywide Bust. Okay. So he 2-for-1 me with that, which is honestly fine. If he attacks with Hazda Marshal, he might just be dead. So he has 1 blocker. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 attackers. This is going to be 4, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I don't think I block. Especially because that opens me up to getting wrecked by a combat trick. And I'm going to gain 6 life here. He can kill my Amara if he does have the combat trick for his Parhelion Patrol. But he's taking 10 damage in that case, and Devkarin Dissident just kills him on its own. Yeah, so he does have the combat trick, it looks like. No, he just chump blocks. Oh, because he had to, or else he died. Right, I did the math wrong somehow. This gives +2/+2. This is 3, 6, 10, 14. Right. How did I do that math wrong? He had to chump. That was really good. And we gained 6 life. Ouch. This is the case of him like diluting his deck a little bit too much, I think. Okay. So we're going to attack with both here, because he will get to eat my Amara, but I'll get to eat his guy, and then I'll have another lethal blocker, I think. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Pump. And like now his Wojek Bodyguard can't really block. I should have played a land. Sky Knight Legionnaire has to hold back on defense. On the old defense. Okay. He has to double block the Devkarin, so I'm going to attack with both. He has no cards in hand. I should have attacked with the soldier too. What am I doing? Actually, no, because he could just block the soldier and block this guy then. Which do I want to kill? I think I kill this guy. Then he has to top deck a creature. Now I have access to black mana if I draw Vraska. He's at 2. I have 2 power. He has to draw a creature this turn or he dies. I will say Cosmotronic Wave did good work, but we got there. Whew, what a close match. What a close match. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you for round 2. Hello, everybody, and welcome to round 2. I did make one change to the deck. I added the Loxodon Restore for a Hitchclaw Recluse. I just think it's going to be a little bit better. I think we have enough to enable to Convoke. I think it's going to be fine. So that's one change I made. Also having another bigger body. I would like to play first. And we will keep this hand. It's not the greatest hand, but it does have all of our colors. And it's got Midnight Reaper and Venerated Loxodon, which are 2 of our strong cards. So I'm pretty happy with it. Start with Plains. I think we will Gateway Plaza on turn 2. Hired Poisoner. That's a good one. Hopefully we can find some creatures. So we are starting to develop a little bit. We can play Midnight Reaper on turn 3, but I don't think we want a Venerated Loxodon here. Ooh, similar play pattern from our opponent. Another cool thing with Urban Utopia is we can sacrifice it with Vraska if we already have all of our colors, which is nice. Okie doke, we will Wario Copy, I think. I think Wario Copy is going to be the best because we can then Midnight Reaper and immediately attack with the Okapi. Put my opponent in a bit of a predicament to give me a card or not to give me a card. Burglar Rat, pretty easily going to discard a Plains here. Ooh. That's tricky. I could go Amara plus Utopia and then Loxodon next turn. I think I want to get this Midnight Reaper into play because then I start pressuring my opponent a little bit. And then next turn, if I draw a land, I can go Amara into Loxodon. Yeah, that seems good. And also, this is like just a really nice development because he can't really block the Okapi. But the Okapi has Vigilance at the same time, so it can just block all of his guys anyway, so he can't really attack me back. And I can attack with the Okapi and then... Actually, I can just Amara anyway. That's really good. Oh gosh. This is great for me. Artful Takedown. Okay, so he is killing that, but that doesn't mean I get to draw a card. We will Urban Utopia on this forest to try and hit a land drop for the turn. No such luck, but we did hit another great one with this Amara. So this Amara is going to do some serious work. I think we want to Convoke out the Loxodon Restorer next turn. Blood Operative, yikes. It's a little bit scary. Good thing we don't have any gold cards in our graveyard yet. Severed Strands, maybe? Yep. That's a little bit annoying, but we do have the Vivid Revival. I think I am going to Loxodon here. It's not really that good, though. But I think it's better to spend my mana this turn. And Loxodon is a card that can trade with Hired Poisoner. Next turn I can play my Loxodon Restorer. Dowser of Lights is a fine card. Ooh, that's a really good one. Okay. I think we play it. And then we can either destroy the Hired Poisoner, which is definitely something with merit. Or we could plus sacrifice the Urban Utopia. $15 cards, 3 rares, and a mythic. Okay, yep. Get wrecked, opponent. Get destroyed. He's salty. What do we want to do with this Vraska? It's close. Definitely close. Drawing a card and getting it up to 6 loyalty is nice, because then he has to go for like kind of an all-out attack to try and pressure it. Killing this is also nice, though. If we Vivid Revival, we can get back these 2 cards if he does kill the Vraska. I like plussing. This way we hit a land drop. We will hold back. We'll double block Dowser of Lights. We don't mind if Vraska dies because of this Vivid Revival. The impetus is on the opponent here, and we can just hard cast Lockstone Restore. City Watch Sphinx? Finality. Yikes. That's a good one. So this is a 6-7 now. Ooh, that was a great draw. So now we have some chump blockers. Chump. Definitely keeping the Vraska around. Ooh, a Wishcoin Crab. Hello, Crabe. How many creatures do I have in my graveyard before I do this play? I have 1, 2, 3 creatures, so this is going to be a 4/4. Definitely going to play the Vigor Spore Worm this turn. Get in a hit for 4. The life is just going to be relevant. Sacrifice a plains. Play a plains. Pass. We can double block Dowser of Lights now. Which is just really nice. We could also just single block, but I think like he doesn't really have a removal spell, or he would have used it pre-combat likely. He also, like, yeah, that trade is really nice for us. So he's out of cards. Good for me. This is going quite well. Quite well. If he attacks with Darkblade Agent, I can kill it. And my opponent concedes. Aw. So, knowing that he has Crab, he has the Dowser, I like bringing this guy in. I'm going to take out the Hitchclaw Recluse, I think, because it's just very medium. You could definitely have a target for Crushing Canopy, but I think I just like that one change. Crushing, like, Hitchclaw Recluse is only like good if my opponent has flyers. This is definitely a weaker hand, but we're still going to keep it. Has all of our colors, which is a big benefit, and it has one of our removal spells. So, and the opponent's deck isn't very fast, so having a grindier situation is fine. Those extra cards could be important against burglar rats and things of that nature. I'm going to play the plains on turn 2 to tilt the opponent. I always know that I get the most annoyed when my opponent has all of his colors on turn 2. Okay, that just made this hand a lot better. because now we're going to have the Wario copy and the Lidev Guardian. Never happened. Aww. Not fair. Not cool, opponent. This hand just got a lot worse without the Venerated Loxodon. I can't imagine he takes anything else, unless he has another Never Happened. Yeah, Loxodon's gone. Not the nicest opponent in the world, but can't always have those kind ones. I think Never Happened is a pretty fine sideboard card against us. We have a lot of powerful things going on. We still haven't drawn our March of Multitudes yet. Okay, Barrier of Bones is embarrassing against Wario Copy. Not embarrassing against Lidev Guardian, but against the Okapi, it's pretty embarrassing. Okay, you killed it. Not cool, opponent. Not cool, bro. Oh, that's nice. Okay, we have Play the Plains. Get destroyed! Get destroyed! So good! So good. Yeah. I would feel a little bit of sympathy for the opponent, but he's a jerk. Aw, you have an Etrata. That's so cute. Like, he knows we have the Luminous Bonds, but we're obviously going for the Luminous Bonds here. Like, Etrata is a card that, especially, like, Luminous Bonding it is really good. We're going to save the Iron Shell Beetle to pump up the Lidev Guardian so it can attack through Barrier of Bones. Severed Strands. That's fine. Oh, look, we still get value. We still have 4 power in play. That's awesome. We're actually going to buff up one of the tokens now. Lidev champion. Yeah, we have a big board. Doesn't have the most stuff going on, but opponent has very little going on. I like this board. So play around Whisper Agent. If he has Whisper Agent, he can eat our Iron Shell Beetle. We're fine with that. Ooh, Artful Takedown. Okay. Get in for that point of damage. Oh, that's a nice one, though we did put some of our best cards on the bottom. Which is unfortunate for sure. We put March and Vivid Revival on the bottom. Vivid Revival getting back Conclave would have been nice. Oh, my opponent just concedes. My deck has so much powerful stuff going on. So for those who didn't see, this is the change I made. I brought in Lockstone Restore for a Hitchclaw Recluse, and I think that was pretty good. But anyway, that is going to do it for round 2. I hope you stay with me for round 3. Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to round 3 of this deck with Abzan, midrange, control, mythic rare, tribal. I don't know. It's a great deck. We won the die roll again, 3 for 3 on those die rolls. Gotta be the best at die rolls. Great hand. We're gonna keep it. Dr. Funk. Didn't we play against like Dr. Danger round 1 or something like that? Okay, gonna lead with the Golgari Guildgate because it always comes into play tapped, and we can play Temple Garden untapped if we deem it necessary. Ooh, looks like we are going to be against Boros again. I really like the Sworn Companions. Ooh, and that was a great draw. We're going to start things off with a Vernati Shieldmate. We'd like it if we traded that off more than a Devkarin Dissident. Also, it can start getting in for damage here. Looks like we're playing against a bad version of Boros, though it is the finals, so opponent could have some good cards in there hiding. Here, I think we are going to play Sworn Companion so we can ramp out this Loxodon Restore. We are going to attack, though. If he uses a combat trick, then we're okay still. We would like to pay the life, which isn't the best, but I think the fact that we can get a Loxodon Restore into play on turn 4 is really nice. And if we draw a land, we can go Devkarin Dissident into Loxodon Restore, which is even better. Skynet Legionnaire is a little bit frustrating, but we're going to have a huge March of the Multitudes turn at some point this game, so we're just going to kind of crush this guy, I think. Land! Okay, that's not the land I wanted. I think I play the land in a Devkarin Dissident and just attack with everything. going to attack with everything. I'm fine trading off a token. The Torch Courier. Okay, I gain back that life. Why did I tap the color combination that I couldn't cast my Devouring Dissident with? Okay, so next turn we can play Devouring Dissident into Loxodon Restore, and then the turn after that we can March of the Multitudes for like 1 billion. Oh gosh, why do I always do this to myself? I'm sorry about the weird display settings thing, folks. Nightlight. There we go. Sorry about that. I have the nightlight on, so it helps me sleep. It's actually a really cool feature, but it makes the recording look a little bit odd sometimes. Okay, opponent is passing, which means he might have something. Which means this is a good turn to develop our stuff. Play Midnight Reaper into Loxodon Restore. There's no reason to risk our guy trading in combat. It looks like our opponent is looking to trade, or they have a trick or something. And if we just spend our turn doing this, it looks he'll have to waste his mana because he doesn't get to block. Like he might have +2/+2 or something like that. I don't know. You never know, but things are looking good for us. Yeah, pretty good here. We're gonna be able to cast March of the Multitudes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna be able to get 7 tokens, which is a pretty large amount of tokens, if I do say so myself. Okay. If he attacks, I will probably trade with Hammer Dropper. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We can just kill him if we draw a land. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. I think it's probably correct to block. Though 2 of my tap lands are out of my deck. It's just really risky. He could have a Cosmotronic Wave. Like 3. I take 8 here, I would go to 14. Though I'm gaining 2 back, I would go to 16. I'm just gonna take it and try to win. Okay, the opponent concedes when I don't block. Let's see, would I've hit it? No, I wouldn't have, but that would have been good enough anyway. Okay, begin sideboarding. Against Boros, what do we want? Hunted Witness is probably coming in. Just helps with blocking duty. Crushing Canopy probably coming in to deal with his flyer. At least the flyer that we saw. We're going to cut the Vivid Revival and the Smaller Wood Shaper. I like that strategy. Do we want the Hitchclaw Recluse? Probably. Actually, I'd probably rather just have a 2-drop. Especially because he has the Hammer Dropper. The 2-drop that trades with Hammer Dropper is probably better. This is a nice hand. We have a lot of life gain in it. It's a little bit slow, but this is a situation where I'm glad I have the planes. Because now I can make sure I cast my Amara on turn 2. Torch Courier getting in there, though. Dr. Funk 69 is off to a quick start. Playing the Poor Man's Goblin Guide. We're going to play our Gate. The Gate. We have a lot of slow mana in this hand, but Amara into attacking, into Sunhome Stalwart. That's a good one. Good thing our Ledev Guardian kind of shuts those down. Hopefully we draw another untapped land so we can ramp it out. If we draw an untapped land, we can go Hunted Witness and Ledev Guardian, which is really good. If we don't, we can go Utopia, hope to draw an untapped land to play Hunted Witness. So opponent's got a pretty nice curve here. He can sacrifice Torch Courier to give Wojak haste, yep, then attack me. But my Ledev Guardian will still be able to block. I can double block the Wojak with Ledev plus Hunted Witness. Or Ledev plus the token that I get. It's all assuming I draw an untapped land, of course. Hunted Witness is also fine because it can chump block. Healer's Hawk. I think I'm going to go with this play. Hunted Witness, Healer's Hawk, tap land, attack with Amara, and then I can triple block Wojek. And then I can get out the Ledev Guardian and be in great shape. And it looks like it's going to work out. He's going to attack with everything. Or maybe he won't attack with Wojek. But then I can start hitting him with lifelink creatures. No, he is attacking with everything. Interesting. I do have a lot of life gain in this hand, so... And the Amara is chipping away at him. Okay, untap land. So I can attack with the Amara. Or I can just develop my mana a little bit. I kind of like that. I like playing the... I could play... I could attack with both. I make another token. Play land, play Utopia. No, play tap land, play Ledev. I like that. Okay, so now I can block the Sunhome Stalwart. I'm going to gain 4 life next turn, and I have 2 life linkers. He might just stop attacking with Sunhome Stalwart. Okie doke. I would like an answer for the Sky Knight Legionnaire. But, I mean, I do have the Crushing Canopy that I sideboarded in. I was thinking ahead for this exact moment. Devkarin Dissident, okay. I think we're going to Loxodon Restore, but only tap the Amara for it. So we could... Yeah, because that way we have our tokens to block the Hammer Dropper. The 4 life is also quite nice. We've made a lot of tokens this game with our Amara. Oh no. No removal. Inspiring Unicorn. He's going to mentor up the Stalwart, probably. We actually have some great blocks here. Oh no, we're just short. Oh. Oh, that's rough. We're going to do that. Ooh. Ugh. I think we cast Conclave, attack with Amara. Make that lifelinker. Play Conclave. We can still race the Sky Knight Legionnaire a little bit. Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah. Yikes. He has no cards in hand, at least. But that's a good one. Light of the Legion. We're just dead in the air if we don't find Crushing Canopy. No, we are so close. If we could give everything +2/+2, would it actually have been enough? Oh, not really worth wasting mental energy over that. Looking for Crushing Canopy. Yep, that's game. Okay, definitely going to change how I sideboard a little bit. I'm going to bring in the second Crushing Canopy. I don't really want the Hitchclaw Recluse. I only have seen one Sky Knight Legionnaire. And Hitchclaw Recluse just doesn't block a ton of stuff very well. Call of the Culprit is interesting, but probably still not what I want. I'm going to take out 10th District Guard. I would like to play first. And we will keep this hand. Definitely slow developing in terms of our mana, but he's got that turn 1 Torch Carrier. Hopefully it's a Torch Courier. Yep, it's the Torch Courier. We're just going to try and cast Sworn Companions on turn 3. And set up from there. That's a really nice draw to have. This is the type of start that I love seeing if I'm a Boros player, by the way. I'm just like, oh yes, he's just not doing anything. The 2/2 first strike would be annoying, for sure. Of course he has it. Oh, he has Runaway Steamkin. Even better. Welcome, Runaway Steamkin, to the party. Okay, I'm going to Okapi here. Because Okapi can trade with Wojek. Can trade with Runaway Steamkin, most likely. On the next turn, I can flower into Sworn Companions or Midnight Reaper, depending on what I need. Boros Challenger. Nice. Oh, now I have a game plan. Flower. Get that Plains. Combat. Attack. I'm actually so willing to make a trade that I don't even need to play Midnight Reaper pre-combat there. Gonna play my Midnight Reaper now. Just have that extra points of power in play. Next turn, hopefully I draw a land and I can shield mate into Sworn Companions. I mean, I'm going to draw 2 cards presumably here. I think all my guys are trading off. Oh, God. True Fire Captain. Yikes. That's terrifying. Has Mentor, too. Jesus. Terrifying. Oh, that was a good draw. Shield mate. Actually, I'll just... So now I have a lot of blockers. I could even March of the Multitudes for 2 if I needed to right now, but I'm going to try and March of the Multitudes for 7 next turn, or 8 if I draw land. Okay, so he can pump this guy once. Let's just go for a block like this. How does that work out? He gets to block. He gets to probably kill both these guys. I kind of like going like this, this, this. Making some trades, I draw some cards. I'm going to gain a life. I take 3 extra from this guy, remember? So I'm going to take 6 here. Sure strike, yikes. Okay, on to the Steamkin. So I'm glad I didn't block with too much. Okay, so now I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can make 5 tokens here. I think 5 tokens is a lot of tokens. And if he does go for the other guy, I can just make slightly less tokens and I can Crushing Canopy his dude. Hammer Dropper, sure. So he has 1 card in hand. So I make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tokens. I go block, block. Oh, I just gang block this thing maybe. Or I think trading the Venati Shieldmate. Jumping here maybe. And then just having 5 tokens around is really nice. Or I could make 1 less token. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just make 3 tokens. I block here. No, it's definitely worth tapping this token to make another token. 4 tokens I block here. I block 4 tokens here. Yeah, let's do that. Yep. I like this play. Now I need a big draw. That's not a big draw. I I hit him for 1, he can hit me back for 5, but I don't want to trade off my guy, so I'm just going to do that. Need a removal spell. He might have the Angel. Legionnaire? Oh no, he's just pumping it. Oh, he has Sky Knight Legionnaire. Yikes. Well, this is where my deck is supposed to thrive, so I will go to 3 life. Actually, I'm going to chump block here, I think. Just buys me a ton of time. Oh, did I screw myself? Okay. Oh, God. That was a heck of a draw. Definitely trading with Barging Sergeant. If I draw Vraska, the game's over. Healer's Hawk is another chump blocker. I did take out my Vivid Revival, so that's not a good draw I have left. And, okay, he's just pumping. Hopefully. Yikes. Our top decks are not kind to us right now. Okay. This is where we need a big draw, guys. He had a big draw. Now we just need a big draw. I mean, we can't win now, but oh yeah, we're just dead. Oh gosh. Well, that was a fine last card for him to have, but dang it, we were close. And we have no outs, I don't think. Wow, that was really unfortunate how that worked out. Oh, we were so close. I don't think we could have played this game really any better. I think we played it pretty well. He had a great curve out. His deck is pretty good. Like he has a couple of clunkers, but his deck is pretty solid. He had a, yeah. We just drew too many lands. We cut some of our more expensive cards for this matchup. We cut the Vivid Revival and Samala, but I think Samala is too slow, and Vivid definitely, like, getting back March would have been nice here, but I don't think it even would have saved us necessarily. It would have been a bit too slow, I think. But that's the difference sometimes. We have this card, so we have, like, essentially 18 lands, and we drew 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and he drew 7. So if we had 3 more spells this game, I think we definitely win. GG's opponent. Could have definitely won, but sometimes it happens. And yeah, our deck was pretty awesome. We managed to get a couple mythics. We had a lot of draws that game that would have been good that we just didn't get there on. So not much you can do. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the draft video. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to get updates whenever I post new content. Leave a comment below if you have anything to say about the draft. But without further ado, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.